Welcome to McGuire on Wrestling.
Allow me to reintroduce myself.
With Mike McGuire.
Stand up, son. Let me take a good look at you.
This guy's a serious professional.
You know what I want to talk about?
Yeah.
Well, the professional wrestling.
Do I have your attention now?
Done shilling. I'm done shilling, okay?
Let's get this show on the road.
I love professional wrestling.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. Another week of pro wrestling and another crazy busy weekend. I hope it's been a good one for you. Of course, Sunday, if you're here in North America, it was a nuts day of just hour after hour after hour after hour after hour after hour after hour of pro wrestling between AEW and New Japan's Forbidden Door coming from the UK, as well as in Boston, Mass. Or somewhere in Massachusetts. I don't know where exactly. But they were there for NXT. Or, as it was known, WWE Heatwave. That was kind of interesting. Nevertheless, they had that show on Sunday as well. Did watch both. Cover to cover, bell to bell on both shows. Made for a long day. And this was after doing 2 indie wrestling shots myself. One on last Thursday. One on the Friday. I did not have to go to the rodeo, which was one nice little reprieve in my week, but there was enough going on around that trust me, it was a busy, busy weekend. So trying to fit life in around watching or taking part in all this wrestling stuff, sometimes it can be a real challenge. But I do it because I love it, and I do this show because I love talking with you about pro wrestling. You're always welcome to be a part of the conversation. The Celebrate Wrestling Facebook page is there waiting for you. If you want to join in, real easy to do. Just sign up to the page, answer a few questions. If you don't answer the questions, you don't get in, period. If you answer the questions but you seem a little sketch, yeah, you're probably going to be on the wait list for a while. If you want to reach out to me directly while trying to join the page, please do so, and we can expedite that process. But basically, it's a no-jerk zone. It's a place to have fun conversations about wrestling. You don't always have to agree with each other, just as long as you're not a tool bag about it, you know? That's what we do there. So Celebrate Wrestling on Facebook. Also, follow the Celebrate Wrestling Instagram page if you're not doing that yet. That's going to be plumb full of new content in the next couple weeks as well, as we've got some more interview stuff coming up. You may have seen, had the chance to sit down and converse with the Brian Kendrick, which is a very interesting name to bring up in pro wrestling in 2025. Brian has been no stranger to, well, having some unique and interesting thoughts when it came to things that were going on in the world. And I'm not going to duck away from them, but I'm not going to dive into them because he has since kind of come to realize that maybe he was buying into more stuff than he should have been. And so we have a pretty amazing conversation, oddly enough, about pro wrestling. I know, weird, right? And he brings up conversations about things like, you know, working with Ronda Rousey, and how about training Bad Bunny for his wrestling experience that we've seen in WWE and other great names around the world that he's been a part of. But it's a really interesting conversation with him. So if you just remember him saying and maybe expressing some pretty dumb things, controversial things, just realize that he knows too. And, you know, I'm not here to defend the guy. I have no dog in the fight, really. But the bottom line is the guy I talked to was a really, really fascinating interview about pro wrestling, about training, and about different levels of success and what he deemed success at this point in his career as well. So great one-on-one with him. That'll be coming up in the next week or so. Also, caught up with my buddy Raj Singh. You might recognize him from TNA Wrestling, Maple Leaf Pro, and Dungeon Wrestling. We caught up and talked about all those things. Plus, he, along with some other noted Calgary wrestlers, bringing back professional wrestling training to Calgary. Yeah, very, very cool stuff. So we'll talk more about that as well in the next coming days. But Dave Meltzer is here. We're going to go through everything when it comes to Forbidden Door. And also, unfortunately, you know, we try and keep the conversation light here, but this is a brutal story involving a wrestler who wrestles as SykoStu in California, and a situation involving him and Raja Jackson. Rampage Jackson's son. Rampage Jackson, of course, the legendary MMA fighter. And Raja, if you've seen the video, you know what we're talking about. If you haven't, it's brutal stuff. It's brutal stuff. So we're going to talk about that with Dave as well. And then, of course, it's your thoughts on AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling's Forbidden Door with another rousing edition of Yay Boo. But rather than do the 5 count this week, because frankly, I think if it's Monday, you're probably already caught up to date on some of the headlines as I watch Dragon Lee and JD McDonough face off against each other on Raw now. We're going to take you to the UK with a special guest and a great listener, very, very supportive listener to the shows and what we do here. But I had the chance to catch up with Chris Holt, who was a part of the audience at Forbidden Door. So let's take you to that conversation right now. Well, as we always like to try and do, if you go to a major show like this and you happen to listen to the show, we love hearing your experience. Joining us from the UK, it is Chris Holt. How are you?
Hey, Mike, good. Just got back from London, so perfectly timed.
Where do you live in relation to London then? About how far is it away for you?
I'm out Stansted way, so that's where one of the 3 major airports is. So about an hour outside.
We are here to talk, of course, about your experience, AEW's Forbidden Door. Well, sorry, AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling's Forbidden Door. However, I don't know about you, Chris, but to me, this felt a lot more like an AEW pay-per-view featuring New Japan Pro Wrestling and maybe a little bit of Stardom and CMLL.
Yeah, it was... Okay, they put the logo on the posters, but you wouldn't really know it. It was an AEW event. It felt like an AEW event. New Japan were there for the ride. It's a shame they're probably not quite where they used to be. I mean, my friends went out to Wrestle Kingdom nearly 10 years ago now, and that was hot back then. But I think now they'll take anything they'll get, potentially. I don't know. It was an AEW show. In your preview, you talked about, the title matches. They weren't going anywhere. But that didn't stop them from being good matches.
Yeah, I'm actually quite happy with myself. I did quite well on picks. I don't know my exact record, but I think I did all right. How about you? Were you pretty much on the ball with what you thought was going to happen every match?
I wouldn't say there was anything that was a surprise across the evening. I mean, Cope and Christian were always going to win. There was going to be some way to get the tag titles off of the Hurt Business. Yeah, the good guys came out in the main event.
I was a little surprised that the Hurts lost the titles, to be honest with you. I just thought they still had time with it, but what are you going to do, right?
Wouldn't say I'm watching AEW week on week. It's hard to find in the UK. It's on ITV, so it's a few days late, and then you have to watch all the ads and things. So more following WWE now that it's on Netflix and it's easy. And Andy mentions it all the time on the podcast, so I kind of feel obliged. But it does feel like, Brody King was so over. The guy just puts in work. So that was a really nice moment to see.
The enthusiasm obviously comes through. I mean, you guys and girls know how to cheer for events when they come to town. That's obvious. But what would you say was probably the most engaged match for the entire crowd, start to finish? Like they never stopped once cheering.
I think so. I didn't really do the pre-show. As you know from my feedback from All In, I value my time more than Tony Khan does. So we popped in right at the end of the pre-show. Samoa Joe massively over, and then they obviously started the night with Cope, and we got a whole rendition of his song a cappella from the crowd, and that was like goosebumps moments, I guess. My wife, I famously don't sing in front of her, and she nudged me and went, "How's that going for you right now?" That was a really fun way to start. I mean, look, we knew where it was going. In fact, saw Kip Sabian this morning at the hotel, and just kind of like he's got his eye kind of all plastered over and things.
Well, he got split open pretty hard there.
Yeah, couldn't quite see. We didn't get replays in the arena. Because obviously Tony was trying to get that attendance record. The set was really minimal. So the screens were up high, but they were showing the action, not any replays or anything. So I was trying to work out what happened there. But that got the crowd off to a great start. I think it would have been maybe even hotter if Luchasaurus had returned to being Luchasaurus, maybe. But look, UK crowds, they love a good wrestling event. And it was a good event. It just flowed really nicely.
Chris Holt is his name, and it was at AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling's Forbidden Door 2025. Always like going this way if you're comfortable with it as well, because I feel it's important, especially in today's pro wrestling economy. You and I, enjoying life, being international Netflix subscribers, we're not going to have to sort our way through this mess for watching WWE moving forward. But when it comes to dollars and cents and time spent as well, as you mentioned, I'm always a big believer that time is just as much a valuable currency, if not more, than the cash you lay on a ticket. Do you mind giving us a ballpark of what you paid for your ticket, where you were sitting, and honestly, if you feel like it was worth it?
Yeah, look, I was on the fence about going to this. I mean, we went to All In the last 2 years and walked away, and they started advertising the event. And I was like, oh, do I really want to go from Wembley to the O2? I've seen lots of wrestling in the O2. And I was on the fence until last weekend. And I just noticed the prices were coming down and down. So we got our 2 seats. We're in block 102. So in the bowl, above the, I guess, the first level of seating. So we had a great view. We paid £56 per ticket, which, for context, in March, when John Cena was in town for his last Raw in London, I paid £141 to be at the top deck, literally the back row of the top deck, touching the back of the building. And that was a ticket that 15 years previously I was being charged £30 for. So although they announced like the attendance record and things, the numbers were coming down for this event all through the last couple of weeks. You could have picked up a bargain if you wanted to turn up on the day.
As they tend to do now. That's the new ticket pricing strategy with all these things. But nevertheless, going through that then, I mean, it sounds to me like I already know the answer, but I just want to hear it from your mouth, not mine. You feel like you got your money's worth?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it was a really, really good evening of entertainment. I also knew they had a curfew, so I knew they wouldn't be going long, and we were staying, there's a really nice hotel next to the O2, and we stayed there. And it was quite funny because there were wrestling fans outside of it and around it, and there were a couple of wrestlers milling around. You didn't want to be that fan. It was like, hey, can I get... And it was just nice to sit down and chill out and let them chill out. So the only interaction I had was like this morning saying to Kip Sabian, as we were going for a run and he was getting onto his coach, I was like, great match last night. Thank you. And he's like, oh, cheers. I felt that was normal, but people I felt sorry for Action Andretti and Leo Rush because they were in the bar, and every so often people were coming up to them and I couldn't tell if they wanted that or, it's one of those things. If you're in the hotel,
if they're in the bar, they know what's going on.
Very true.
I don't buy for a second that a wrestler after a pay-per-view goes to the hotel bar and doesn't want to be bothered by any of the fans, brother. No way. Well, you know what, man? This is great. Really appreciate your feedback on this. We got a bunch of announcements. Obviously, they're coming back. Also, you've got a bunch of WWE shows coming that way again. I mean, we talk about it all the time here in North America, but I mean, the market is just so saturated now, and it seems like the world has just gotten so much smaller. Going to the UK, going around the world is less and less of a concern for these companies now. They just want to get in front of everybody. Are you feeling pressure at all, like the fear of missing out, to try and get to as many of these shows as possible?
I think the first All In, I wanted to be there. So I got into wrestling in 93. Hence you see Bret Hart stuff behind me. So I missed out on that first SummerSlam experience, which my dad would have hated taking me to. But I missed out on that. So I wanted to make sure I was at that first All In show. I think because I've been going to live events for probably 20 years now. So there'll be times where I can give it a miss. They're coming, they come through regularly. Typically I was working up in Glasgow the week before when Cena was there. I think I posted in the Celebrate Wrestling thing. It was like, I'm just running past where John Cena was. But yeah, looking at the Manchester dates, it's tempting. That's not too far away if you can make it work. But I don't feel there's a pressure because I also know they're coming back soon. Whereas, it used to be we'd get one tour a year. And we had some phenomenal matches. Like we had Cena and Shawn Michaels straight after WrestleMania 23. We've had some incredible shows over here. The one that everyone kind of is still searching for is that WrestleMania. But I can't see it because the amount of money Las Vegas and Saudi Arabia can throw at WWE. but I feel like we get a lot more now than we used to.
Never say never. Chris Holt, thank you so much for giving us your in-person insight from your time at Forbidden Door. I got to ask this too really quick. You got some memorabilia and stuff. Did you pick up any merch at the show?
So I didn't. My wife did. So my wife bought a Tony Storm shirt ahead of time. And then at they had a merch store outside of the arena, and she got one of the ringer tees, you know, the old New Japan style, which was red and white. She got that. I find AEW's artwork a little bit unsubtle. I bought a couple at the last couple of All In. Maybe I've got a high bar when it comes to merch. Like, this one's really subtle. Like, I can wear this in meetings. It says Dragon, Fisherman, Tiger, and German. And like people will be like, what's that? And I'm like, if you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. So I didn't pick up merch, but my wife did. £40 for a t-shirt, which feels on the steep side, but I think that's just the going rate nowadays.
Well, I do believe that Celebrate Wrestling shirts are much cheaper than that, so far more affordable.
Do you know what? I nearly wore mine, but I wore my Brett, Owen, Davey, and Jim shirt instead.
It's all good, man. All good. Listen, appreciate your support of the shows. Appreciate being a part of this one. And thank you so much for talking about it, Chris.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me.
My thanks to Chris Holt for being a part of the show today, giving us his live impression of AEW New Japan's Forbidden Door. Well, coming up next, Dave Meltzer and I are going to go through the card, go through some of the things, including Bryce. I'm sorry, Bryce Remsburg, the referee, the 3 count during the World Title. Oh, my gosh. It's on the way.
This is McGuire on Wrestling.
The alternate commentary table, ACT, brought to you by the Celebrate Wrestling podcast feed. Listen, it's Mitch, it's Dimitri. We got this little pod thing that we do every single week where we talk about the week in wrestling and the way in which we do it from the other side of the railing, right, Mitch?
I like that.
We're coming at it because we love it, we hate it. The alternate commentary table, ACT. Download it anywhere where you're getting your podcasts. Cha-cha!
It's time for the Wrestling Observer Insider with Dave Meltzer, McGuire on Wrestling.
Well, Forbidden Door took place out of London, England. Your overall thoughts of the show, first of all?
I thought that it was a great show. It's unfair sometimes because I go, well, it wasn't as good as All in Texas, but the standard is so high right now that, I mean, you know, if a show like this happened 5 years ago, we'd be going like this one of the greatest of all time. You know, just that shows have gotten, you know, especially AEW pay-per-views have gotten really, really strong. And this was another one. I mean, the last 2 matches were great, and most everything was really good. Some good video packages, actually some great video packages, and not, you know, there's always little things here and there. It's not a perfect show, but it was pretty great, I thought.
I thought the pacing for this one was really good. In fact, a few people were commenting on that. It was another 4.5 hour main show that didn't feel like a 4.5 hour main show.
You know why? Because it was early. That's the key. If you do a show in the afternoon, you can get away with longer time, just like the All in Texas show. If you do it like late at night and you're running it like till 1 a.m. Eastern time, that's when people start really complaining about long shows. If you you know, it may be a thing. It's going to be very interesting because, you know, All In, I know, did very, very well on pay-per-view. I don't know how this one did yet. But if it did well, I would actually, if it did like normal numbers at going that early, I would almost push for the idea of doing these shows in the afternoon and then going 4.5 hours, because it's not a problem to most people, and you get it out of the way, and people aren't saying that they're tired or anything like that, or, you know, have to get up late for work. It's revolutionary. I mean, you wouldn't do it, but if it works, it's an interesting concept.
Well, I think it's actually a great idea because we just had Chris Holt on from the UK. He was at the show and he just gave us a wonderful recap from his perspective. And I think the big thing for anybody is that it's not just the money anymore. I mean, money still plays a big part of it. But being a wrestling fan, I mean, geez, this weekend, Dave, I watched so much wrestling. I mean, I was at 2 different indie shots to begin with. And then after that, you had all day Sunday. You're sitting here just glued to the TV, basically watching more and more wrestling. Like, the time is becoming the biggest commodity, I think, even more than the money.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And I was trying to watch and didn't really succeed in watching like Rev Pro, and I watched some Stardom, and I watched Arena Mexico. I mean, and it's nothing but great wrestling. I mean, we are we are spoiled by the riches of wrestling right now, like nobody has ever seen before, and somewhat desensitized to it. I mean, if there were, like I said, if there was a show like last night's show and it was like in 1993 or something, we'd be going like, oh my God, what an incredible show. I mean, because the guys are talented and, so talented and also the mentality of the guys is so different. I mean, before it was just different. It was different. Now the mentality of the guys is just put on a great show for the fans. And, I mean, the big problem now is not so much the money as much as like, don't kill yourself, because these guys, they scare me, in a lot of cases, especially in AEW when they put on a big show with, like the Darby Allin stuff and everything, where it's just like, Jesus Christ. I mean, scary.
Yeah, I did want to talk about that with you as well, because again, we got another point where Jon Moxley and Darby Allin, these guys just don't play nice together. And it gets to the point where as a fan, I just watch and cringe. Like it's not even gross out entertaining to me. It just feels awful. And I know you're going to say, well, it's not my cup of tea, but it's what people like. But I don't know any, and even the guy that was there, he just told us, he wasn't crazy about that ear spot at all with the re-piercing.
I sure wasn't. I never am.
No, I know you're not, but I just like, what are they accomplishing? They've already got our money. They've got our viewership. Like, what are they accomplishing at that point?
They're trying to shock you, and it's really hard, when you want to shock people because they've seen everything. So, but yeah, if you didn't have that in the match, would it have made a difference? The match was going to be awesome with or without that spot. And, but Tony's done that from the beginning. He's heard people complain about, the blood and the gore and everything like that. And, I think he thinks he's building a successful company. And so that's the direction that they allow. I think it's, it's certainly not my cup of tea, and, I think it would be better without it. You don't need to, I mean, I know I had people here, who loved the match, but didn't love that spot. That's for sure.
Okay.
I mean,
So,
you got, Moxley was really interesting watching him when he was doing that, because he had this face and it was like, oh my God, it's like total chic 1971. It's like, and he wasn't even alive then, but it's like, I think that, he saw that and, that drew money in 1971. And
yeah, well, there's a lot of things that drew money in 1971 we wouldn't be doing today either. But
that's true, without a doubt.
Let's talk about the ins and outs here. I mean, it was billed as a lights out match. We're talking, of course, about the final match on the show here for AEW's Forbidden Door with New Japan Pro Wrestling. And I mean, the story about Ospreay's neck and the need for surgery, like how much of this is legit and how much of this was what's the word I'm looking for? Embellished for the story of the match.
I mean, the surgery and the injuries are 100% legit. The only thing embellished was that he wasn't cleared. He was cleared, obviously, because
obviously, yeah.
If he wasn't cleared, he wouldn't be in there. That's the only thing that was really embellished. And obviously, the he didn't get it from Jon Moxley. He got it from 14 years of doing what he's been doing, and the body just can only take so much. But the injury, yeah, he's got 2 herniated discs. He's going to probably need surgery. He's going to be out for, they did an angle. He's going to be out for a long, long time. I mean, probably, I know that he doesn't know how long it will be. He hasn't had the surgery yet. So until then, I mean, most guys who have this type of injury and this type of surgery, we're talking like 14 months, but maybe, obviously his goal is to be back at Wembley next year. And I don't know if that's an attainable goal, and neither does he right now. I mean, he's going to have to get the surgery, and then he's going to be told, and he's going to go through a rough time because he's going to, the recovery from that surgery isn't easy. And he has befriended Adam Copeland, who went through that in his career and knows the ups and downs of the recovery. And, he hopefully will be as close to what he was coming out of it. I mean, he is going to have to make modifications. Bryan Danielson had to, Chris Benoit had to, everyone that's at that level, there's, you have to change and that might've been the goodbye, that moonsault off the cage and all the crazy stuff that he did last night.
Well, and that's the other question, too, I have, because, I mean, nothing is certain for sure, obviously. We can't predict the future, but, I mean, what is the likelihood you feel or you've heard even of an actual return? Like, is that definitely something that's in the cards for him still?
I think so. Yeah, with the surgery. I mean, most guys who have it do come back. Big E didn't. So it's not 100%.
Right.
You know, I mean, but Big E's was from one really bad incident. Will is a lifetime of wear and tear. It's different. But no, I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm not examining him. You know, he's going to have to, he will hear from his doctor after he has the surgery, and then we'll all have an idea. But right now nobody knows. I mean, you got your goal, but whether that goal is attainable, you know, the goal is a year, but whether that's attainable, I don't know.
We're talking to Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer, WrestlingObserver.com, about AEW New Japan's Forbidden Door. We say AEW New Japan's Forbidden Door. This was an AEW pay-per-view, right? Like, I mean, this was...
Yeah, not a lot of New Japan. There were some, but not in the, you know, I mean, like Tanahashi was there and Yu Uemura was in the pre-show, and, you know, there were others. But, yeah, not so much because they were doing G1, and it was just hard to put together a card with all the top guys in G1. You know, Zach was there defending the title, but not as many New Japan guys as usual. And hopefully next year they don't, I mean, it won't be in August, so they'll be able to do it back in June, and they can put together, you know, more of a Forbidden Door card with more of the New Japan guys.
Overall, I think I almost aced my predictions going into this one. Not a lot of surprises for me. Were there any storyline surprises for you that came out of this show?
I expected Daniel Garcia to turn, but I think he probably will at some other point. And it's probably time. And aside from that, you know, I mean, Brody King and Bandito winning the tag team titles, I was expecting FTR to win, but you know, that was a solid surprise, and it's something, you know. I mean, as far as Bandito, I think, and Brody was very over. Bandito, I think, has a lot of potential, and I think that they know that. And I think that he really did himself good in June, that month that he had, where he was having all those incredible matches in Mexico, and really opened a lot of people's eyes that are in power, you know, like obviously Tony and Bryan Danielson loved him. And, you know, Bryan Danielson's very close to Tony when it comes to this booking stuff. So I think that that's the idea, is that, like, hey, you know, we've got somebody here with charisma who can be our Mexican superstar. And there's always that little thing within wrestling, you know, of Bandito versus Dragon Lee, you know, because they both, you know, they chose different paths, and it's kind of like, which company's better, you know. And for a while there, everybody was like, well, WWE's better. Look at Dragon Lee, where Bandito is. And now, obviously, that argument is in the other direction, that Dragon Lee's kind of going nowhere, and Bandito's becoming a big, big star.
Dave, we call the shows Celebrate Wrestling. We try and be as positive as we can here. I'm going to go off on a bit of a rant here, so bear with me, and then I would love your feedback on this. The pinfall situation in the men's world championship match. Now, I'm not just going to talk about the foot on the rope situation, but there was the rolling 1 counts where Bryce Remsburg is hopping back and forth. I mean, doing the counts mid-move, like there's no pinfall, there's no nothing. And then we get it followed up with this janky 3 count that, by all intents and purposes, any other wrestling match, anytime I've ever watched this, for the most part, unless another referee comes to the ring and says otherwise.
Or a wrestler, or they point it out on the replay on the screen.
Yeah. Or anything that negates an actual 3 count with a foot on the rope.
Yeah.
Like, this.
A little too garbage. I know what you're saying. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was weird because it's like the referee sees the foot on the ropes like 2 minutes later, which is just kind of ridiculous. And I think the thing is like, in this day and age, but wrestling, you know, insists on being archaic. And this goes with every wrestling company that there is, everyone, because we're all in this little bubble of, well, this is wrestling. And in all sports, there was no replays for decades and decades. And now every single sport has a replay. And so you have, but, you know, wrestling wants that garbage stuff. But I mean, it's like now, you know, you should go in there and go, like, you know, like with UFC, you just go in there, and UFC didn't have replays for a long, long time. Go in there. We know everything's taped. Go in there. The referee looks at it, sees it, but it's like it's not the drama that we're used to and things like that. And there's so much that wrestling does with run-ins and things like that obviously could never happen if it was real. So I think that one of the issues with wrestling is that the bookers and creators believe that they have creative latitude and they don't have to be consistent. When I was growing up, the one thing that, I learned, which was from Roy Shire booking, is while there was all of that garbage finish stuff, it was consistent. These are the rules. And sometimes the rules screwed the guy you liked, and sometimes the rules screwed the heel. But it was consistently applied. And here they don't, and WWE's the same way. They don't feel that there's any need for consistency because it's just wrestling. And that's what we get. And I understand your point of view, and you're right.
This was really bad though, Dave. Like 2 minutes later, no other consultation. Oh, his foot was on the rope.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, obviously Tony's the guy that gets the final say on all this stuff, but I mean, this is less than janky indie wrestling.
It's
stupidity.
It's just what I've said. They believe that there's carte blanche, and you have you don't have to be consistent. And if you feel you don't have to be consistent, you come up with these scenarios. Yeah, I thought, okay, first of all, the foot's on the ropes, so I figure someone's restarting it. That's fine. But the nature of how they did it, and then the referee comes to later and sees the foot on the ropes, that's just, it does make no sense at all.
And again, we're talking about pro wrestling. I mean, there's series now. I mean, WWE has a whole show talking about how they, do things and whether or not that's all 100% legit. Who cares? The bottom line is the one thread as grown-up wrestling fans we've always appreciated, I feel, and that's from any company, is when we don't feel like they're insulting our intelligence. So you know what? You set up this universe where if a foot is on the rope and the 3 count happens anyways, but the ref didn't see it and nobody else says otherwise, we got a new champion. MJF should be the new champion by all rights. And then all of a sudden, again, this felt to me, and it's not going to be like, oh, screw AEW overall. But I thought that this particular moment was just kind of a, come on, man. Like I can play along with everything, but this.
Well, I didn't have a problem with that because the foot was on the ropes, and I've seen situations like that. I mean, even going back to that last WWE pay-per-view where Jade Cargill actually was Tiffany Stratton's foot on the ropes to break a count that she was winning in, that she was about to win the title in, because she forgot to get her foot on the ropes or wasn't too far away or whatever. So, I mean, I've seen some really weird stuff. But yeah, I think that everyone gets too cute for their own good. And I think that this was an example. I think, like those two had a great match, but but storyline wise, they wanted to get too cute. And again, like if he put his foot on the ropes, the ref counts 3, and then they go in there and, they show a replay, sees the foot on the ropes, restart the match. That's all you need to do.
That's it.
But the guy being knocked out and then seeing the foot on the ropes, minutes later, it's like, no, that does make no sense at all. So you're 100% right to complain about that, because I thought the same thing. It's like, there's ways you can do it. I wasn't against the 3 count with a foot on the rope spot, but you have to have a far more legitimate way of turning it over.
Maybe Bryce Remsburg was having a broken Matt Hardy moment and had a premonition of the foot on the rope while he was knocked out. I don't know. Anyway, we'll get off that topic here, but overall, I mean, no big title changes besides the tag title, honestly. Not a big surprise there. We kind of knew that was going to be the case with a lot of these matches.
Especially when the champions don't even lose, Yeah. I'm never a fan. That's another thing I'm not a fan of is champions, the idea that a champion can lose the title without actually being beat. I think that's like Paul Heyman was the guy who really popularized the 3-way, and everybody copied it. And, it's an added element, but it also was become an incredible booking crutch. And I hated that, like where you've got champions and they didn't lose, but you've got new champions. And it just, to me, it makes the championship look, ridiculous.
I got my pick. I've mentioned it on our Facebook page, but I want to ask you, who do you think stole the show out of Forbidden Door this year?
Oh, man. Will Ospreay.
Okay. I said Kyle Fletcher.
Yeah, Kyle Fletcher had a great match, but him and Hiromu Takahashi are great. So
that's just it though. For those that have never seen Hiromu before, like, I mean, I thought that Kyle especially made that match way more interesting and did a great job with an opponent that might not be known to the other side as much. So I thought Fletcher is on a path for sure, and maybe with this time with Ospreay being away, I mean, this might be his opportunity. Who knows? Well, it was funny. As I was watching the pre-show, the 0 hour, I said to myself, why isn't Samoa Joe in a better position? And then I thought to myself, Joe's been around a long time. Maybe Joe's just happy being Joe and doing what he's doing. But if you're going to have a time now to elevate somebody and get somebody, I think Fletcher's got to be your guy. I mean, MJF is there, obviously. Well, who else do they got?
I think everybody sees that in Fletcher. He's going to, you can't just automatically get him there, but he's on the path to being there. Him and Takeshita both are going to be. Takeshita is probably going to wind up being a big time babyface, and Fletcher will at some point too. But I think Fletcher should go a lot longer as a heel before he does the turn.
Hey, Takeshita's got 3 contracts right now. He's making that money. You know what? We're talking to Dave Meltzer. Coming up next, we're going to talk about WWE, the whole price breakdown for Americans especially. What a mess this thing's becoming. More McGuire on Wrestling coming up.
This is McGuire on Wrestling.
Legends and Champions is your weekly fix to go old school, looking at the classic world of professional wrestling. From Hulk Hogan to the Hitman Bret Hart to the Icon Sting to the total package Lex Luger. We have it all each and every week on Legends and Champions, part of the Celebrate Wrestling Network. And it's available on a Wednesday with me, Andy Evans. See you there.
Welcome back to McGuire on Wrestling.
Back with Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer. Dave, thank you so much for offering us some insight on Forbidden Door. I know you're going to have a lot more in this week's newsletter coming up about it, obviously. But I wanted to switch back to something we talked about last time we spoke, and the details were just coming out. Since then, you've written it out. I also saw Brandon Thurston put out some stuff as well. And you guys have done a great job, both of you, explaining and also making me say, God dang, am I glad I'm on a Canadian Netflix plan, because I don't know how WWE fans in the U.S. are going to survive all this.
They're getting paid. WWE's getting paid, incredible amounts of money for all these things. And, we had a situation with Peacock where they just want to charge one fee, and now they went to ESPN where that fee's, triple. So there you go, or more than triple, actually.
Well, and then it all breaks down as to if you subscribe to this, you get it for nothing. But if you don't, you got to pay the $30 a month. And then now Saturday night's main event is going to be Peacock exclusive. So that's not even on NBC anymore, right? Moving forward.
Yeah, they moved it off of NBC. That was, now that I look at everything and kind of can see it with better perspective, I can see that it's essentially what happened is that they felt that did much lower numbers than NBC and didn't want to put it on NBC anymore. Which that's a big blow. But WWE is doing so well, it's not like it's going to really hurt. But it's a blow that losing NBC, so soon after, it's only been, I think it's been 4 shows, and they've already lost the 5-year deal. And SmackDown is not going to be on Peacock except for 30-day delay, which is another, weird one. If they really wanted to build Peacock, they should put SmackDown on it, I think. But they want the ratings for, the SmackDown ratings for USA Network are phenomenal. Saturday Night Main Event ratings for NBC are still good, but evidently, because of the ad rates associated with wrestling, evidently they didn't think it was good enough, because if it was, they wouldn't have taken it off NBC.
Well, I've heard a lot of people talking about how this might be WWE's attempt to basically just kind of pollinate every platform they possibly can, which is a smart move.
Of course. It's hard for the fan base, because the fan base, essentially has to get Netflix. They essentially have to get Peacock, and they have to get ESPN, and they still have to keep cable, and not just cable, but network if they really want to watch everything, because the CW. So, but if you get cable, you're going to get CW.
It's mind-boggling to me that it's become more and more about having content fill a spot with a business partner. Because let's face it, a lot of these fans now, what they're going to do, they're not going to sit through these shows. They're not going to get onto every one of these subscription services. That's what we got online highlights for. They're putting pay-per-view highlights on moments after they happen online. They know that fans are going to stay caught up, but I guess they're just counting on the diehards to spend the money.
Yep, I guess so. That's what all the companies do right now.
Is pro wrestling bringing back basically cable? Like, it just sounds to me like this is more like no. I don't mean actual physical cable, but remember how cable plans would be like, you need to get this package to get this channel, this channel, this channel, this channel. It feels to me like they're doing that with all the streaming services now.
Oh, without a doubt.
Wow. It's unreal. How long do you think this business model lasts?
As long as there's new companies starting up that are willing to overpay for product, it will last forever. I mean, that's what WWE is and UFC both are making a killing on is companies way overpaying for the value that they get. But it's great for these companies. These companies, TKO is worth so much money and the NFL basically in the United States became that the same way, other than the fact that the NFL is such a dominant force in American television.
It's definitely weird to say the least. Well, Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer, before I let you go, there's a story that's developing as we're even talking right now, and that is the story Raja Jackson, who, from what we're hearing, is an actual MMA fighter or trainee, and was invited to be a part of a pro wrestling angle, an indie show. Apparently, this is Rikishi's camp.
Yeah, Knox Pro Wrestling.
Yeah. So it was a WWID program. They've since removed all their WWE ID branding. So it tells me that WWE has said, you guys are done. But for those that don't know the situation, this guy was invited to the show to work an angle. Whether or not he was aware he was working an angle is to be determined, but went into the ring shortly afterwards and absolutely took it to this guy who wrestles under the name SykoStu and just lay like shot after shot on this guy. A lot of people are saying he damn near killed him if these other wrestlers hadn't got him off.
I mean, he could have killed him.
Yeah.
It was, I've seen a lot of horrible things in the ring. I think that was the most horrible thing I've ever seen. It was just ridiculous. Horrible. There's no words to say, just horrible.
So to be live streaming this as well and have it out there for the world to see. I mean, this guy doesn't have a prayer to begin with, I think, from an evidence standpoint, obviously.
Oh, God.
I guess what I'm wondering is, and you obviously weren't there, I wasn't there, and we're going to hear the story as it unfolds. We're going to hear both sides, I'm sure. But how does a situation like this even happen? What?
I have no answer for that because I don't know how.
Yeah.
One guy just went nuts. There's no excuse. It's all on him. It's like you can say, well, this button was pushed. Okay. You want to get a receipt, you want to slap him or whatever. That's fine. I mean, to go out there and try to kill him, or maim him. There's no excuse for that. Even if he did a gimmick shot, you can shove him hard or, they apologized and shook hands before he went in there. And he's in there on the tape saying, like, when I go in there, I'm going to punch him as hard as I can until they pull me off. And it's just like, they didn't pull him off fast enough, but they didn't know what they were doing. I mean, it was a series of horrendous ideas, but I mean, who's to know? I mean, they do angles like that all the time in pro wrestling. And, you count on the guy to know that, your job isn't to kill the guy. And he just went off. It was horrible.
So I'm not comparing the two by any means, but it's funny that you say that because to me, this goes back to being an example. And we've talked about this with WWE as well. We've talked about it with AEW. What in your mind, or what do you think of when I say this statement here? Pro wrestling in general, from all levels, needs to stop worrying about shock value and go back to actually being good at what pro wrestling is supposed to be.
That's a completely different issue. But I agree with your issue because right now, with what you said, because right now, I mean, WWE in particular, they're looking for these shock moments that but that's different. That's storyline stuff. That's all. We can talk about storyline. This is not storyline.
That's what I mean, though. But
and this I don't think this was meant to be shocking. This was just an idea. It's like, let's do this angle with Rampage Jackson's son, and he was a nut, and that's a completely different thing. It's like angles, we're always going to have angles and we're always going to have angles that are meant to surprise you. This is not that. This is just some I mean, it's not even like the idea is just that stuff that's done on every wrestling show, that idea. It's just everyone's more sane. When you get one insane guy can kind of ruin everything.
Obviously, this is still a developing story. We don't have anything official yet. We've heard that LAPD is investigating now, and I'm sure we'll have more to talk about in the next couple of weeks here when you get back. But Dave, I want to thank you for all your time here, as always. Lots to talk about, of course, especially after a big pay-per-view. We didn't even talk about a heat wave at all. We'll have to... I don't know. I watched the show. I thought there were some good. Javon Evans is getting pushed to the moon, even though he's not winning the belt. I mean, geez, this kid's getting everything, isn't he?
Yeah, he's super talented.
Yeah. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but
he made the show. I thought the show was fine. It's the problem with that show is that it followed the AEW show, and the AEW show was so much better. But taken on its own, I mean, the Heatwave show was fine. It was good.
Boy, I couldn't believe that the Americans would be booing their own gold medalist. Where have we seen that before?
Chelsea Green's a star, and in NXT, when you see a star, you go crazy for them. So she's a star. It wasn't that they were booing Americans. It was that they were cheering Chelsea Green, and everybody else was just and who's a bigger star, Chelsea Green or Tyra May Steele? And it's like it's easy. So she was so they cheered her.
Chelsea Green, Netflix, and YouTube. It's great being Canadian. All right. Yeah. Dave, before we let you go, what are some things people can read about in the latest Wrestling Observer?
Everything on the ESPN deal, and all of the different changes and things that are going on and whys and everything like that. We kind of talk about the whole WWE, how the booking has changed because of it, because of the September 20th head-to-head, which is going to be quite the day that day, boy. 5-hour AEW show and probably, I'm going to guess, 4-hour WWE show head-to-head. That's going to be brutal. And the G1.
Takeshita was the right guy to win G1, right?
In a different year, yes. What has happened with New Japan is their business is down, and it's down to the hardcores. And the hardcores hate, or I shouldn't say, maybe even hate AEW because the idea is AEW stole Okada and Will Ospreay and stuff like that. So because of that, they see Takeshita as a AEW guy. So they were mad, that he won, that he was picked to win, and they think Tony Khan forced it, Tony Khan has nothing to do with the G1 booking. Takeshita was the best guy in the tournament. I mean, but those people, a lot of people resented a AEW guy winning, no matter whether he was the best guy or not. And Gedo, when he booked, I think that the idea was, hey, we've got this Japanese guy, who, I mean, is a worldwide superstar, and we can put the world title on this real worldwide superstar. And at another point in time, Japan would have loved the idea of an American star, like in baseball, coming back to Japan and defending the world title. But right now, when they're down to the level of crowd that New Japan has now, they just wanted one of their, Yota Tsuji or Yuya Uemura type guys to win the thing, and didn't. So there was a lot of complaints. Like I said, if this was 5 years ago, everything would be about, oh my God, Takeshita is so great. Right now, it's like, oh, they booked an AEW guy to win G1. This is blasphemous, So it's just a question of timing, and that was Geto's choice. And people are down on Geto, for doing it, thinking like, oh, he's been co-opted by the Americans and all that. And it's just, I mean, Geto maybe thinking 5 years ago. It was 5 years ago. He was the guy to win. Economics have changed in the business. The best guys want to go to America now. Years ago, there was a lot of pride in being in New Japan because you got to do the best matches and things like that. And now, it's really not that place. I mean, there's better wrestling in CMLL. There's better wrestling in AEW, and New Japan is not the place everybody wants to go to hone their craft and have their greatest matches anymore. And it's certainly not the place people want to go to make the most money. So it's caused a decline, and it's a worldwide industry. So, it's not like, okay, we're number one in Japan. That's all that counts. It's like, the rest of the world all matters now.
The world keeps getting smaller and smaller. There you have it. Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer. I know you're away next week, but we'll talk again soon, my friend. Thank you so much.
Okay. Have a great week.
Yay, boo, yay. yay, boo, it's lots of fun to do. If you like it, holla yay. If you don't, you holla boo.
Final portion of the show, and we only got a few minutes left to go through. After a major pay-per-view, we like to get your opinions via yay or boo. Basically, you give a yay or a boo to the show, and then you tell us why, if you like, at the Celebrate Wrestling Facebook page. Again, if you want to join, it's absolutely free. If you want to support the show as well, I didn't mention this earlier, CelebrateWrestling.com is where you can do that. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast feed this Wednesday in this whole UK theme that we have going on. Andy and Stefan from Legends and Champions are going to be focusing on AEW All In London. The first one, the big one in Wembley, the first one, they're going to talk about it because they were there. They were both at that show. So really unique perspectives there, but let's get down to it. Your thoughts, yay boo, on AEW/New Japan Pro Wrestling's Forbidden Door. All right. We start off with Scott Ainsworth in South Australia, who starts off with a big boo. He says, purely because of the price in Australia to watch it, and it's starting so bloody early in the morning. I haven't watched a second of it. Okay, well, you're not really rating the show then. You're just rating your bank account and time zones, I guess. So, whatever. He commented. It counts. Devin Axman, who is always a great contributor on these. He says, yay on the whole. I want Danielson on commentary full-time. I agree. Bryan Danielson was phenomenal there. He says, I think every match was good. Not sure if any hit the extra gear for an all-time classic, but I thought it was a great show. Are we sure Fletcher isn't in the conversation for the best wrestler with the most consistent matches? We had this conversation earlier, Devin. Go back and listen to Dave and I talk about him. Nigel McGuinness versus Zack Sabre Jr. was awesome and a love letter to pro wrestling. Yeah, a love letter to British pro wrestling, specifically. Really liked Swerve and Okada, too. Reminded me of an old school territory match in the best ways where everything mattered. He's got a few more comments here. But anyway, he does see the point that I have as well with the referee changing the decision. He says, only thing I absolutely hated was the finish Hangman versus MJF. I guess we can just overturn things the ref didn't see after taking a 10-minute nap. Thank you very much. It wasn't a nap. Like I said, it was a premonition. All right, let's get to Chris Hotnot out in Toronto, who says, yay, AEW touts were the best wrestle. This pay-per-view delivered just that. It was like going to Baskin-Robbins for 31 flavors of ice cream. Look it up, international listeners. He said, I think it had something for everyone. Even the pre-show was full of wrestling and not just a panel talking about the show. Having the New Japan Pro Wrestling ring announcer was a nice touch. Yeah, I love that guy. Tanahashi Hiroshi! I'm at work right now. I'm pretty sure my coworkers think I'm nuts, but that's okay. Mike Marquardt says, definitely yay. Even if it was an emotional letdown from their last show, it still delivered. Why was it an emotional letdown? He says, some strange booking decisions didn't take away from a solid show top to bottom. Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. There were comments during the discussion thread about even the starting match with Christian and Copeland against the Wayne family there with Luchasaurus, Kanosaurus, whatever he is. Kill Switch, sorry. And Kip Sabian. Kip Sabian is becoming like just the guy that gets into everything. Just one faction to another. John Persky says, big yay, AEW always delivers. Jake Allenar says, mother truckin' yay. Oasis and Hanson were cherries on top. Nigel versus Zack Sabre Jr. match of the night. But folks, please keep your forks on your meals. Yes. Absolutely yes. I will say I popped pretty hard for Hanson. I have a long history with that Mbop song. I'll tell you about it someday, but it's pretty awesome. Joe Aguinaldo, I got to get Joe back on the show. These Monday shows suck because we both got to work. But Joe says, solid yay for a damn solid card. Agreed. Blaine Vandergreen says, yay, not a bad match on the card, and a couple of match of the year contenders. They also did a good job of putting some shine on some of the lesser known talents or rising stars like Kyle Fletcher, Bozilla. Oh yeah, Bozilla from Stardom. She's, what did they say? She's 20, 21 years old and just a giant and second generation. And Anyway, Brody King, Megan Bain on the 0 hour. There was a ton of storyline continuity as well. And the pacing was really good. They at least kept it under 5 hours. My only gripe was the closing angle. Cage matches are intended to be the culmination of a feud, not the start of them. Yes, but Blaine, AEW gonna AEW. It's what AEW do. Nevertheless, he says, plus they basically did an identical angle with Ospreay last month. It just felt very repetitive, but aside from that, a solid show. Things in wrestling seeming repetitive? What? We didn't go through 3 years of Bloodline together, did we? And still kind of going through it? Sort of? Whatever. And then Cody wrote this right after the show ended. First post on the Yay Boo. It's over? Damn, I forgot the time change. Yeah, just like a lot of you probably forgot about the Raw time change today, because that's going on again, like I said, while I was producing the show. So either way, thank you very much for your feedback there. You're always welcome to chime in. I always love hearing from you. And if you want to be a part of the community, again, CelebrateWrestling.com has everything. If you'd like to pick up a t-shirt or some stickers, or even just make a PayPal donation to support the show financially, that's appreciated. I don't do it for the money. We don't do it for the money, but if you can help us knock off a couple bills here and there, that's super sweet of you. But again, it's not expected. We're always happy to be here and celebrate wrestling. Get it? See? All came together. That does it for me, friend. I am going to go have a nap now because I've been going since my morning show, and it is time to shut her down. Listen, enjoy the rest of your day. As always, thank you for listening and letting me do what I do. Till next time, play safe, drive safe. Be seen ya.
McGuire on Wrestling. Online and on the radio. Listen to the show Mondays at 4 p.m. Mountain Time at CKXU.com, wherever you get your podcasts, and at McGuireShow.com.